Hi again and welcome to my channel once again, and it's it's getting colder now. It's late October, but I'm still here. I'm feeling the cold a bit today. It's not yet winter, but that's the way it is with me. I'm sitting in a conservatory and it's a lot cooler than it has been whilst doing these videos, I can assure you of that. So I'm a bit more wrapped up. I think as I go into the winter making these videos, I'm going to have to probably move my location elsewhere where it's going to be much warmer. So what have we got today? Well, I'm going to go back to reviewing boys comic magazines or boys comic annuals, and in this particular case today we're looking at Lion. This one's 1954 and I've got another one here, 1956. Now the Lion, as I understand it, it was around in my day, but this started off in the 50s, and it was a direct competitor really to the Eagle comic. And my brother informed me that he at some stage during his boyhood he had both of them. He had the Eagle and the Lion, and I think he had another one as well. But so he did well to have two comics a week. The Lion has a little bit of notoriety attached to it because it's understood that Prince Charles actually had the comic delivered to Buckingham Palace every week. Wasn't he lucky then? So he chose the Lion over the Eagle, and that's a little bit, well, I wouldn't say it's controversial, but I was surprised to hear that, because arguably the Eagle is a better comic or better annual. We're going to look through the pages of both of these versions, the 1954 and the 1956 version. I'm not going to go over all of the pages, but I'm just going to pick out a few bits of interest. And we're kind of, I suppose, comparing these annuals with the Eagle ones, and they do have some similarity, but as we go through we'll discuss certain aspects of Lion Annual. So let's switch to the other camera and we'll have a look in detail. So I hope you are seeing this okay. I tried to line this up, and we're looking at the 1954 version of the Lion Annual, and as you can see, it's kind of got this futuristic front to it. Now, of course, as I said earlier, this was in direct competition with the Eagle, and of course the Eagle had Dan Dare as its main feature, and the Lion, well, it chose to obviously have a strip cartoon in a similar vein to Dan Dare, and that's what we're seeing here. Look, we'll see some more of this inside as to who the character is that we're talking about here. So just flipping through the pages, nothing there particularly. We have a colour plate here initially, but as we go through the pages you'll notice that colour isn't really featured very much in this particular annual. This page is falling out. So the table of contents here, and immediately we have Lion's kind of driven main character here, as far as the comic strip's concerned, Captain Condor. Now he was the kind of guy, there he is here featured, he was the guy that was kind of in direct competition with Dan Dare. They just chose to style the main character of this particular comic on the on the kind of science fiction side. And you'll notice, unlike the Eagle, in this particular annual, the story is actually in black and white. And I must say that it isn't particularly as well drawn as Dan Dare is in the Eagle, but it's not bad, and it is in a similar vein. It features spaceships and this Captain Condor with his kind of flying hat on, very, very similar to Dan Dare. So similar stories, but not as punchy really, I don't think, as is Dan Dare. Then you kind of go into a series of other types of story with a similar vein really, I suppose, in the Eagle, where you've got some narrative, you've got a story, and you've got a few pictures to go by. We're going to skip through some of these, and I just wanted to point out a few things in here as we flip over the pages. As you can see, these strips are black and white only. Another featured story there, and then a historic piece here. You found this type in the Eagle as well, so it was kind of copying in a way. The slaves who saved the empire, a bit about the Roman Empire there, and it's a actual cartoon story based on the Romans and what they got up to. And then typically during the 50s, boys like to read stories about school, and there was always this headmaster type or teacher type with the mortarboard on here, and the gown, the full gown, would feature in these stories. And boys used to like to kind of read stories about this type of thing. So this is a bit strange, a little bit, probably these days, a little bit un-PC. The weird ways of witch doctors, of course. What every boy needs to know about witch doctors. Yeah, so kind of things like sticking needles into effigies, yeah, and all sorts of other things as well, firing arrows into the sun. I'm not sure whether this sort of stuff would be allowed today. I wouldn't think so somehow, but you know, it's pretty innocent stuff at that time. Jungle Story there. More pages with written text on. This book's in quite good condition, but then you have your typical cowboys and Indians type of story. Very, very kind of prevalent in the 1950s still. Cowboys and Indians would feature in comics. And then another textural story, and then quite an interesting, and this is an article really, scientists land on the moon. Now don't forget, this is before, of course, man had landed on the moon, and there was a lot of speculation here as to what travel to the moon might look like. Guys here, these astronauts strapped down, and this huge rocket here blasting them off to the moon. And then it talks about, in the future, possibly a space station, and kind of Well, obviously it got it quite wrong in a way, but it wasn't going to be too long, another 10 years or so, before some of that reality came along. Then your typical story relating to the Second World War, another favourite with young boys. Stories about fighting the Germans. There's your typical German or Nazi. Let's flip through these. There's a quiz here, worldwide quiz, so with pictures. I'm going to flip over these so that we can kind of, I think this is another, which is this? This is another story here. The Secret of Jeju Island. Quite well drawn, this one, I think. Now I suspect they had different artists as they did in the Eagle. Another school type story there. I'm going to flip through this so that we can get to the other annual and have a look at the stories in there, because there is a distinct difference between this and the next one. Picture parade of facts from near and far, so some interesting kind of facts about what was going on in the world then to amuse young minds. Another feature, another cartoon. I think what we'll do is, I don't think there's much more in here of interest, so let's just finish up there and move on to the next annual. (1956). So 1956 annual, and a very similar picture on the front. I suspect this is Captain Condor again. A picture of Canada and USA and South America there. Whoever owned this has tried to mimic the lion here by drawing it. Whoever owned it. 1956, so a similar kind of style, contents list. What amused me about this is that you had some of the characters down here that are actually in the stories in this comic annual, but this guy here smoking a pipe, it just amused me, because of course these days you wouldn't have anything like that anywhere near a boys comic or anything to do with children, but this guy is featured here smoking his pipe and pointing towards the characters that you're going to see in this particular annual. So very similar in style. I suspect the artists were the same. I found this one probably again a kind of featured story, the pygmies who wanted to become giants. I'm not sure again whether that would be allowed today. I excuse the noise if you're picking up on that. I've got some rain in the conservatory and you're probably picking that up. Yes, I don't think this would be allowed today. Graphically showing, well, it's like a Gulliver's Travel type story, really, I suppose, but with pygmies. Worldwide quiz, again a pictorial kind of quiz. And I'm going to flip through some of this to get to some of the interesting bits. The Jungle Jeep Adventures. quite a long cartoon story. A ghost hunting kind of story in a school setting there. Stuff that boys would have enjoyed. I think this was primarily aimed at boys rather than a mixed sexes kind of publication. So quite a nice little feature here about how tramps leave signs outside your house to denote to other tramps that you might be someone who's friendly and will give food. The signs are marked outside your house. Not sure that applies today. I don't think that sort of thing happens, but maybe, who knows. Another featured story, and then we get to, of course, Captain Condor is in colour, which now we've moved on 2 years here, and of course the Eagle comic always had its Dan Dare feature in colour, and now of course Lion has kind of gone forward and copied that format for Captain Condor. However, the type of colour rendition that's being used here, I'm not sure what this style is. It's kind of very kind of using only a few colours. There probably is a very good name for this type of process, but this is certainly not as good as the Eagle. It's in colour, but it's not particularly great, I don't think, and in some ways I would rather it still be in black and white. I think the kind of 4 or 5 colours used here, or whatever's being used here, detracts from the actual story somewhat. It just kind of makes it a little bit wooden in a way. So that's its colour feature. I think there's another one further on. We'll have a look. Wonders of Outer Space. This kind of intrigued me. Again, you know, there was a feature or a story in the previous annual, and this one kind of goes further into what the future might hold for us in outer space, and talking about space stations here, and an interesting one over this side here. It says the moon is our nearest neighbour in space, yet if it were possible to lay a railway track between Earth and the moon, an express train travelling at a mile a minute would take roughly 6 months to get to the moon, and it shows you a picture of Earth and the moon and a railway track in between. Now, I understand they're trying to explain the science of how far the moon is from us, but I wonder if some boys thought that that was possible, that a railway track could actually be made there between us and the moon, and then obviously a steam train driven between the two bodies. Not sure, but yeah, quite futuristic type drawings here of space and what might be to come. I found that quite interesting because I'm interested in science fiction and the development of science fiction overall. Another story. The Case of the Chinese Idol. Quite well drawn again, but not. I don't think these stories are as well drawn as the Eagle. But there you go. Maybe Prince Charles's parents. I don't know who they are, but maybe they couldn't afford the Eagle. Who knows? Some stories, some more stories in here. Trapper Ken foils the fur trade. Yeah, boys would have been interested in this sort of adventure. Skinny's smoke bombs, I remember kind of during the 50s and 60s, boys were interested in making smoke bombs and stink bombs. They were something that were quite prevalent back then. And the other colour feature of the lion, Tony the Circus Acrobat. So again, using this kind of awful colour system, maybe you could leave a comment to tell me what you think this process actually is, because I remember it, but I don't think it was around for too long. Another story. Cowboys again. Guy with spurs. When the Romans went chariot racing, so some pictures and detailing chariot races in Rome, I would guess. And another story entitled A Mystery House, No Man's Land. A wartime, again, wartime story with Germans. I would guess the Germans didn't win in any of these stories. They never do. The Haunted Lagoon. And I think we're coming to the end here, and just check to see if there's anything of interest really. Skyway Police for the Desert Chic. And again, black and white. TV Thrill Hunters. Do you remember any of these stories? On the back here, just an advert. Join the rush for Lion. So Lion comic was on sale then for 3 pence. I think the Eagle was 4p, so quite a lot of price difference between the two comics, and that would have made 1 penny would have made quite a difference to some households then. So maybe that was why the kind of the quality of the Lion wasn't as great as the Eagle. And that's it. Back cover. Another space scene. I suspect if we lay this out on its back cover, well, kind of have this space scene. Okay, so that's the end of the review of Lion Annual. I'm not sure what else I can do on these. I mean, there are other annuals that I can take a look at, and maybe we have a look at 1960s and the comic annuals that were available then. I don't know. Would people like to see that? We can have a look, and if anyone's got any particular subject as far as annuals are concerned, then let me know. Write something in the comments. You may have to join YouTube to do that, but that's easy to do, to subscribe. There's no danger there, you can do it quite easily, and then I think you can leave me a comment. I'm not sure whether you can leave me a comment without being a member of YouTube, but there's no problem doing that. So let me know if there's a subject on the subject of comics or annuals that you would like me to review, and I'll endeavour to find out some information. So that's it from me, and I kind of will be having another video, I suspect, another subject very, very soon. So it's been great talking to you once again, and I wish you all well, and that's it from me. So bye for now. Bye.